I'm Mrs. O, and I'm going to be here just helping with this lesson because, as you know, our standards have changed to what type of standards? Common Core. So not only do you have to know how to do the math, you have to be able to justify and explain. Okay? So I was here a while ago, and you were when I was observing, you were working on the Pythagorean Theorem. You were finding the missing length of a side of a right triangle. You were also, you had 3 lengths of the sides of the triangle. You were trying to prove that it was a right triangle. So you are very familiar with right triangles, and you're using the Pythagorean Theorem. But my question to you is, does the Pythagorean Theorem work all the time? No. It only works for what? Right triangles. And who told you that? Did she lie to you?
Yes.
No, you're supposed to say no. No.
On recording especially.
She doesn't. But she gave you the Pythagorean Theorem, and you just said, okay, she gave it to us. She's the best. She knows everything, so it must be true, right?
She never makes mistakes.
Okay. So you just accept it to be true. But remember with Common Core, even if you accept it to be true, you still need to be able to explain why it is true. That's what we're working on today, the explanation part. Before we get started with the explanation part, I want to know some background information. We're going to use what you know about geometry to do this explanation. So you guys know about squares, right? Okay. What are some of the properties of a square? What does a square have? Yes.
4 right triangles.
That's 4 right angles.
Right angles, right?
Mm-hmm.
4 equal sides.
4 equal sides.
What does that mean, 4 right angles?
It means it's like a little, it's like that.
What is a right angle?
90 degrees.
A 90-degree angle. Good.
Mm-hmm. If you want to find the area of a square, what would you do? Length times width. Mm-hmm. Base times height. Yes. Side squared. Okay, so you guys all know that the area of a square is base times height, length times width, which basically means that it ends up being the side squared. Don't worry about writing this down because I know you have it in your memory, in your head. So, next thing I want to know is, what is a Pythagorean theorem? Yes.
A squared plus B squared.
Okay. So you have that information. There's one more thing I want to check before we get started. If I have a square, and this is 2 units, then the other side has to be how many? 2. Okay. So what's the area? 4. Okay. If I ask you to write an expression for this area, instead of just giving me the numerical value, what expression could I write to get the area of the square? Okay, so I don't need to equal sign because it's an expression, but you said 2 squared. So I know the area, if I'm just only asking for the expression, it would be 2 squared. What if I didn't know that this was 2, and let's say I wanted to call it, I'll call this x. Since it's a square, this would also have to be x, so the expression would be x squared for the area. Okay, now, what I have given you is 2 tabs. You either have blue or green.
I'm going to put that under the camera.
So you either have blue or green. If you have blue, your partner is going to be the person who has green. So you're going to be working with a partner, okay? Now, I have given you these, but these are rectangles actually. But a square is actually a rectangle, okay? So we're going to start with a rectangle. And since we know that rectangles, the angles on all 4 angles are what type of angles? Right angles. If you take your scissors and cut down the diagonal of the rectangle, and I know you're going to try to get it done exactly, but it's okay if it's not perfect. But try to cut down a diagonal. And some of you might like to draw a line before you cut. I like to take risks, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut right away. On both of the tabs, the Post-its. So I cut down, and since the rectangle have right angles, when I cut down the diagonal of both of them, I'm going to end up with how many triangles? 4 from 2 from one, and then 4 from both of them. Since again they're right angles, what type of triangles do I have? Right triangles. Okay, so we have right triangles. You either have 4 blue or you have 4 green. Now, what I would like for you to do, since we know they're right triangles, is I'm going to ask that you label them. I want you to label the shortest leg A and the longest leg B. The shortest leg is going to be A, so write directly on there A, and then the longest leg is B. Your hypotenuse is C. And you're going to do that for all 4.
Okay, pause the recording and label your triangles. All right, getting started with the next step. Here's what your triangles should look like. Okay, so now you're going to look at this worksheet. If you have the blue Post-it, you are going to design your diagram in this way, where you're going to set up your A plus your B, or you could set up your B plus your A. Remember, A plus B is the same thing as B plus A. However you ended up labeling it. So you're going to set up, if this is an A, this is a B. If this is a B, then this has to be your A, and this has to be your B. Okay, so it's going to look somewhat like this. Where you're doing, notice I set up a B and an A here, where this is my A, and my C is in the inside. So it should look like this. If you have the green Post-it, then you are going to set it up like this, where you are taking your 2 triangles and you are arranging them where A is set up here, B is here, and A is here. So you're doing A over here and B here. Okay? And over here you're doing B here and A here. So there's your green Post-its, there's your blue Post-its. Okay, pause the recording, set up your Post-its. If you're doing this at home, you're going to end up doing both. All right, pause the recording, arrange your squares. Now, once your squares are arranged like this, okay, now I want, everybody is going to trace, you're going to trace, I would use your ruler so you have a nice edge, and you're going to trace the square inside and outside. And I want you to label all edges. So if you have the blue one, you're going to go all the way around the outside and all the way around the inside and label all edges. If you have the green one, okay, notice this area right here makes a square. So draw that line all the way out to make the square. And you're going to go all the way around the outside, all the way around the inside, make that square, all the way around the outside. Are there any questions? All right, so you should be tracing with, there should be a ruler, draw the squares or the rectangles. Now pause the recording and do that now. All right, guys, once you have drawn your squares, and I would definitely, I don't have a ruler with me, but I want you to use a ruler. Once you have drawn your squares, I want you to label the sides. So if this is a measure of C, what is this side? C. C. And what's this one? C. Good. Finish labeling your sides. So there's no question. I also might glue these down. Stick them down. Okay, label all sides, including here. You know, we don't know this, but we know this, and they have to be equivalent, so label those sides. Now pause the recording and label. All right, so now, if you go back to your worksheet, the next thing that I want you to do is, if you notice, those of you that have the blue Post-it, I want you to go through and answer the questions on right here for step 2. And I want you to put your answer on this paper here. Okay? Well, do you want to put it on this paper or on this paper? Where do you guys want to work?
It's a graph paper.
Okay, let's work on the graph paper. Also write the question.
Oh, so another work on this.
Okay? So we're going to put the work on the graph paper, and you're going to write the question and then answer it. And then notice it's asking you, so the first one question is the figure formed by the hypotenuse a square? If it is, state why. How do we know something's a square? We asked you that earlier. Now, the next question for the blue is write the expression for the area inside the square. Okay? You're going to write those out. On step 3, if you have the green Post-it, on the area to the right of your diagram or on the paper, on the graph paper, you're answering these questions. Are the two figures represented by the dashed lines? That's these right here. Dash. You see those dashed lines? These are the dashed lines, right? Here and here. The question is, are they squares? Tell me how you know. Okay? Then I want you to write an expression for the small square and an expression for the large square. If you are doing this at home, you have to do it for both figures. You're answering step 2 and 3. If you're doing it here in class, you're only doing it for the color that your Post-it is. All right, answer those questions. Go. Pause the recording. All right, so now, if you have answered your questions for the blue triangle, and you've answered the questions for the green triangle, now you're going to work with your partner, and you're going to transcribe, or you're going to explain your answers so that they can record the information for the other questions. So, the blue people are going to explain what the answers are to these, and the green people are going to record it, while the green people explain the answer to these, and the blue people will record it on their paper. Okay, do that now.
So like I write down her questions and answers?
Yes, okay? So you're going to write down each other's, but explain.
On the paper or on the graph paper?
On your graph paper.
Something to write down.
Pause the recording. If you're doing this at home, you are doing both together on your own.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So, hopefully you've shared your information. You both have the information. I have a question. Is this overall square the same size as this square?
Yes.
Could we say they're the same area?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, so can't we also say that the area of this overall is equivalent to the area of this overall?
Yes.
Okay, now, step 4. Can somebody read that? Jessica, read step 4.
Since the area of each of the two composite figures you created is a plus b squared, the areas are equal.
Okay, stop. So what do they mean by that? Why do they say it's a plus b squared? Yeah.
That's like the formula, sort of.
Okay, but what do you see here? How are they getting it? Jessica.
Because one of the sides, it's b plus a.
Right, it's a plus b. A plus b. So if I had them labeled, it's a plus b. A plus B. So isn't this the same thing as A plus B times A plus B? Isn't that the same thing?
Yeah.
And over here, isn't this A? What's this measure right here? Okay, and isn't this B? And this is plus A. So can't we say that this too is A plus B squared? Okay, so now what we want you to do, use the space provided. Keep going.
Use the space provided to draw each figure from step 2 and step 3. Place an equal sign between the two figures to show the two areas are equal.
Okay, so you're going to draw those two figures here. Now, because class time is up, you're going to draw the two figures here, okay? And then step 5. I want you to just, what would be left if I, look at step 5. It says remove the triangles from each side. Use the space provided to draw the remaining figures. If I removed my triangles, what shape would be left?
Square.
Just this square. So down here you're drawing just your square in the center. And over here, if I remove these, what's going to be left?
Square.
2 squares. You're just drawing those, the dashed areas, without those. Okay? Is that making sense? No, we're just drawing our dashed line squares. So that's part.
Isn't it? I don't think it's dashed in the middle.
Well, I just dashed it for you. Okay? This one. Okay, LaDonna, can you add to any of this? Should I have them do these questions, or should we complete it
We should complete.
tomorrow?
Right.
Do you want to complete it tomorrow? Then that way you can check their figures before they do
Yes.
the questions?
So, I want you to do this, and I want you to do this. Step 4 and 5. Draw the whole figure here with the equal sign in the middle, and the whole figure here. Step 5, you're only drawing the empty spaces with the equal sign in the middle.
So we do
Is that clear? Yeah.
So we do it on this figure. Not on the graphic.
You're right. We should have done it here. Yeah, let's do it right here. Okay?
So we have to draw both.
Okay? Now, shh. Now, so for